one of the biggest kind of gaps for me with Christianity is the concept of hell. Do you believe that a person needs to accept Jesus, the literal version of Jesus, as their savior in order to be passed through the gates of heaven, or else they'll be eternally damned to this place called hell?
I definitely don't believe in that kind of reductionist vision of things. Let's say if we take your image of the wave and the one, there is, you could say, a way in which that is true, but at least there is this is at least the Christian position, is that the wave, it has a reality. It actually has a reality that as Christians we would say is formed in love. That is, God forms creates beings out of love. So the one, or the ocean, if you want to think about it, in some ways, it wants, or it loves so much that love boils over in the actual existence of individual beings. And those individual beings are not illusions, right? They're not just like little bubbles that pop. They actually they're given by God's love a true existence, right? And maybe that's the difference. And so although we do go back we're called back to God, like we're called to be united with God, for Christians, that call back to God never annuls your individual existence because of love. And love, the best way to understand love is to understand it as the possibility of unity and multiplicity to coexist together, right? That is the structure of love. So it's, in some ways, if I love something, I don't want it to be united with me completely. I want it to be united with me as much as possible, but I don't want to unite it to me in order to annul it, in order to absorb it. I want it to continue exist as separate from me, because then love can continue. Right? I want my lover to be separate from me. I don't want to suck her into me, like completely absorb her into me, because I want to be able to continue loving that person, right? And so that is that is in some ways is the image of Christianity. Now, you're right that in some ways what that does is there's a side effect to that, which is that we are made free, right? God in some ways makes us separate from him through love, but it means that he can't control us completely, or he doesn't want to control us. He wants to let us be free so that we can have true and mutual love between each other. And that means that there's always a possibility that you can refuse. And that is what hell is. Like, hell is humans refusing God's love, basically. And that is something that is possible for all of us. All of us can either accept or refuse God's love. And that's how I see it. Of course, I do believe that Christ revealed the fullness of that. I do believe that in some ways Christ revealed that to us. But I don't believe that if someone isn't born in America or in Europe, and that everybody that was born before the actual church goes to hell, like I can't really think that. I do believe that in some ways Christ reveals the path, but that path is in him, and how you explain it technically in some ways is irrelevant. But the idea is that all people are free to choose God's love or to not choose God's love.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of breaks me from religion. That just doesn't feel reasonable to me, that person that's super generous and sweet and amazing and beautiful and just doing everything she or he can to just do right by the world and all of that, but they happen to have grown up in a Muslim culture, and they just don't hear these stories, like they're all internally damned. It's very challenging for me to be able to grok or digest.
Well, usually the way that, at least in Orthodox Christianity, the way that we formulate it is we formulate it just as the positive way. In some ways, I think C.S. Lewis had also given a great example of that, which is, someone who's sick comes to you and asks you, what's the best way to get to the hospital? And then I say, this road, take this road, it'll lead you straight to the hospital. And then the person says, yeah, but can I take the other road? Like, could I also maybe like take this other road? And you're like, well, do you want to get to the hospital or not? Like, what is the question that's being asked here? And so I think that's the way that I like to think about it, which is that in Orthodox Christianity, we say, ask me how it is to come into full communion with God, and I'll tell you, this is the way. Now, don't ask me, are there maybe possible exceptions of people that could be taken another way and maybe they'll still get there? Like, why are you asking that? Like, what is motivating that question? I mean, we usually just say, I don't know. And it's not for me to judge that. Why would I ask? There's no existential reason to ask myself about other people in other places. I want to get to the hospital. Like I want to be healed. I want to be free from my slaveries. I want to be free from my passions. And if you want that, I can say this is the way. Like this is a way, and I see it because I see the saints, because I see all these people that are free, that aren't living under the weight of all their obsessions and passions and whatever. I see these free people. I'm like, this is a path this is the path that I see. So this is the way that I tend to present it. And it's not a speculative question, right? In some ways it's an existential question. It's more about, because when you all just frame it as whether or not you go to heaven or hell, that's why I don't like those formulations so much, because I really do prefer in some ways to talk about now and here, because the question is, you have obsessions, you have sins, you have things that weigh you down, you have thoughts that take over, you have excesses in your life. Do you want to be free from those? And if the answer is yes, and it's like, this is the way, right? Jesus shows you the way to be free, and that leads to heaven. But it's a real thing. It's not like what you believe something and then you die, you go to heaven. That's nonsense. Like, what is that even? I don't even know what that even means. Like, I don't know what that would be. You have to become something, right? You have to be transformed. You have to become free of your passions, and it's not just believing something and then you die and go to eternal bliss. Like, we're not Muslims. The Christians are not Muslims. Like there's a lot of stuff that it's weird how there's actually a lot of stuff in certain types of Protestant Christianity, which seem to be much closer to the way that Muslims think about, right? Say this phrase, say that God, there's only one God, and Muhammad is his prophet. Say that, and it means that you're fine, like you're good to go. That's not how any of this stuff works.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed that episode, you might also enjoy this episode over here, as well as this one over here. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video.